Leviticus Chapter 8. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, Take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments and the anointing oil and the bull of the sin offering and the 2 rams and the basket of unleavened bread. And gather all the assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Moses did just as Jehovah had commanded him, and the assembly was gathered at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Moses said to the assembly, This is what Jehovah has commanded to be done. And Moses brought Aaron and his sons near and washed them with water. And he put the tunic upon him and girded him with the girding sash and clothed him with the robe and put the ephod upon him, and he girded him with the skillfully woven band of the ephod, and with it he bound it to him. And he placed the breastplate upon him, and in the breastplate he put the Urim and the Thummim. And he placed the turban on his head, and on the turban, on its front, he placed the golden plate, the holy crown, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And Moses took the anointing oil and anointed the tabernacle and all that was in it, and sanctified them. And he sprinkled some of it on the altar 7 times, and anointed the altar and all its vessels, and the laver and its base, to sanctify them. And he poured some of the anointing oil on Aaron's head and anointed him, to sanctify him. And Moses brought Aaron's sons near, and clothed them with tunics and girded them with girding sashes and bound high hats on them, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And he brought the bull of the sin offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the bull of the sin offering. And he slaughtered it, and Moses took the blood and put some of it on and around the horns of the altar with his finger, and purified the altar, and poured out the rest of the blood at the base of the altar and sanctified it, to make expiation for it. And he took all the fat that was on the inward parts and the appendage of the liver and the 2 kidneys and their fat, and Moses burned them on the altar. But the bull and its skin and its flesh and its dung he burned with fire outside the camp, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And he presented the ram of the burnt offering, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. And he slaughtered it, and Moses sprinkled the blood on and around the altar. And he cut the ram into its pieces, and Moses burned the head and the pieces and the fat. And the inward parts and the legs he washed with water, and Moses burned the whole ram on the altar. It was a burnt offering for a satisfying fragrance, it was an offering by fire to Jehovah, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And he presented the other ram, the ram of the filling of hands, and Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the head of the ram. And he slaughtered it, and Moses took some of its blood and put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear and on the thumb of his right hand and on the big toe of his right foot. And he brought Aaron's sons near, and Moses put some of the blood on the lobe of their right ear and on the thumb of their right hand and on the big toe of their right foot, and Moses sprinkled the rest of the blood on and around the altar. And he took the fat and the fat tail and all the fat that was on the inward parts, and the appendage of the liver, and the 2 kidneys and their fat, and the right thigh. And from the basket of unleavened bread that was before Jehovah, he took 1 unleavened cake and 1 cake of oiled bread and 1 wafer, and placed them on the fat portions and on the right thigh. And he put all these in the palms of Aaron and in the palms of his sons, and he waved them as a wave offering before Jehovah. And Moses took them from their palms and burned them on the altar upon the burnt offering. They were an offering of the filling of hands for a satisfying fragrance, it was an offering by fire to Jehovah. And Moses took the breast and waved it as a wave offering before Jehovah. It was Moses' portion of the ram of the filling of hands, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And Moses took some of the anointing oil and some of the blood that was on the altar and sprinkled it on Aaron, on his garments, and on his sons' garments with him, and he sanctified Aaron, his garments, and his sons' garments with him. And Moses said to Aaron and to his sons, Boil the flesh at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and eat it there with the bread that is in the basket of the filling of hands, just as I commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat it. And what is left of the flesh and of the bread you shall burn with fire. And you shall not go out from the entrance of the tent of meeting for 7 days, until the days of your filling of hands is fulfilled, for it will take 7 days to fill your hands. As has been done this day, so Jehovah has commanded to do, to make expiation for you. And at the entrance of the tent of meeting you shall stay day and night 7 days, and keep the charge of Jehovah, that you may not die, for so I have been commanded. And Aaron and his sons did all the things which Jehovah had commanded through Moses. Leviticus Chapter 9. Now on the 8th day Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel. And he said to Aaron, Take for yourself a calf of the herd for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering, without blemish, and present them before Jehovah. Then to the children of Israel you shall speak, saying, Take a male goat for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, both a year old without blemish, for a burnt offering. And an ox and a ram for peace offerings, to sacrifice before Jehovah, and a meal offering mingled with oil, for today Jehovah will appear to you. So they brought what Moses had commanded before the tent of meeting, and all the assembly came near and stood before Jehovah. And Moses said, This is what Jehovah has commanded you to do. And the glory of Jehovah shall appear to you. Then Moses said to Aaron, Come near to the altar and offer your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make expiation for yourself and for the people, and make the offering of the people and make expiation for them, just as Jehovah has commanded. So Aaron came near to the altar and slaughtered the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. And the sons of Aaron presented the blood to him, and he dipped his finger in the blood and put it on the horns of the altar, and the rest of the blood he poured out at the base of the altar. But the fat and the kidneys and the appendage of the liver of the sin offering he burned on the altar, just as Jehovah had commanded Moses. And the flesh and the skin he burned with fire outside the camp. Then he slaughtered the burnt offering, and Aaron's sons handed the blood to him, and he sprinkled it on and around the altar. And they handed the burnt offering to him, piece by piece, and the head, and he burned them on the altar. And he washed the inward parts and the legs and burned them upon the burnt offering on the altar. Then he presented the people's offering, and took the goat of the sin offering which was for the people and slaughtered it and offered it for sin, like the first. And he presented the burnt offering and offered it according to the ordinance. Then he presented the meal offering and filled his hand with some of it and burned it on the altar, besides the burnt offering of the morning. Then he slaughtered the ox and the ram, the sacrifice of peace offerings which was for the people, and Aaron's sons handed the blood to him, which he sprinkled on and around the altar. And the fat portions of the ox and of the ram, the fat tail, and the fat which covers the inward parts and the kidneys and the appendage of the liver. These fat portions they then put on the breasts, and he burned the fat portions on the altar. And the breasts and the right thigh Aaron waved for a wave offering before Jehovah, just as Moses had commanded. And Aaron lifted up his hands toward the people and blessed them, and he came down from offering the sin offering and the burnt offering and the peace offerings. And Moses and Aaron went into the tent of meeting. And they came out and blessed the people, and the glory of Jehovah appeared to all the people. Then fire came forth from before Jehovah and consumed the burnt offering and the fat portions on the altar, and when all the people saw it, they gave a ringing shout and fell on their faces. Leviticus Chapter 10. And Nadab and Abihu, the sons of Aaron, each took his censer, and put fire in them and laid incense on it, and they presented strange fire before Jehovah, which he had not commanded them. And fire came out from before Jehovah and consumed them, and they died before Jehovah. Then Moses said to Aaron, This is what Jehovah spoke, saying, In those who come near to me I will be sanctified, and before all the people I will be glorified. And Aaron was silent. And Moses called Mishael and Elzaphan, the sons of Uzziel the uncle of Aaron, and said to them, Come near, carry your brothers from before the sanctuary to the outside of the camp. So they came near and carried them in their tunics to the outside of the camp, just as Moses had said. Then Moses said to Aaron and to his sons Eleazar and Ithamar, Do not dishevel the hair of your heads, and do not tear your garments, that you may not die and that he may not be angry with all the assembly. But let your brothers, the whole house of Israel, weep for the burning which Jehovah has kindled. And you shall not go out from the entrance of the tent of meeting, lest you die, for the anointing oil of Jehovah is upon you. And they did according to the word of Moses. Then Jehovah spoke to Aaron, saying, Drink no wine or strong drink, neither you nor your sons with you, when you come into the tent of meeting, that you may not die. It shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations. Both to make a distinction between the holy and the common, and between the unclean and the clean. And to teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Jehovah has spoken to them through Moses. Then Moses spoke to Aaron and to Eleazar and to Ithamar, his sons who were left, Take the meal offering which remains of Jehovah's offerings by fire, and eat it unleavened beside the altar, for it is most holy. And you shall eat it in a holy place, because it is your due and your sons' due of Jehovah's offerings by fire, for so I have been commanded. And the breast of the wave offering and the thigh of the heave offering you shall eat in a clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for they have been given as your due and your sons' due out of the sacrifices of the peace offerings of the children of Israel. The thigh of the heave offering and the breast of the wave offering they shall bring with the offerings by fire of the fat portions to wave as a wave offering before Jehovah, and it shall become a perpetual statute for you and for your sons with you, just as Jehovah has commanded. Then Moses diligently inquired about the goat of the sin offering, but it had already been burned. So he was angry with Eleazar and with Ithamar the sons of Aaron who were left, saying, Why have you not eaten the sin offering in the place of the sanctuary? For it is most holy, and he gave it to you to bear the iniquity of the assembly, to make expiation for them before Jehovah. Now its blood was not brought inside, into the sanctuary, you should certainly have eaten it in the sanctuary, just as I commanded. But Aaron spoke to Moses, See, today they have presented their sin offering and their burnt offering before Jehovah, and such things as these have befallen me. And if I had eaten the sin offering today, would it have been good in the sight of Jehovah? And when Moses heard that, it seemed good in his sight.